Hey, Egg Teacher Christmas here, coming at you with probably the quickest and easiest part of the entire giant jumbo Christmas light string build. We're going to be building this part right here. Now this is going to be the cord that goes in between each set of wires. And we're using some materials here that are kind of going to mimic that shape and give you that little dimension and that feel of having a big old tangled string of giant jumbo Christmas lights. So let me bring this one a little bit closer so you can see what we're doing. So on a regular Christmas light string, it's made up of a pair of wires that are side by side. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a valley in between. Are you in focus? I hope you're in focus. But anyway, here, we'll get in front so you can see that. See, there's a little valley in between. And then this is a dark kind of forest green color. So this is what we're going to replicate today using some plumbing pipe wrap. And then a pile of zip ties. So let's get closer so we can see how this build goes. So these are our building material pieces here. So this is 5/8 interior diameter, 1/2-inch wall foam pipe wrap. Those of you that need to see the label, that is by Everbuilt. These were like $1.87, $1.79, something like that a piece for, looks like 6 foot of these. So the first thing I'm going to do with these is, of course, I don't need a price tag there anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and take that off. These are those crazy price tags that have been cut previously, so they come off in like 4 pieces. Not very handy, but that's the way it is. We'll get those off there and out of the way. It looks like this one has already lost it, so that's good. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these side by side, and we're going to hold them together with zip ties. So there's a couple of different ways we could do this, and I've experimented with a bunch of those, and really, I think this one's going to be the quickest and easiest, and really from a distance, you don't see the zip ties that we use. And I just want to make sure that this is quick, safe, and easy. So I did experiment with opening up the foam and putting the zip ties on the inside, and then you connect it to the other one and zip tie them so that there's nothing visible. The problem I found with that is if you pulled too hard, the zip ties pulled through the foam, and it was also really hard to get them lined up. So we're going to avoid that altogether, and we're just going to use a bunch of zip ties. So what I've got is I went back to the electrical section and I grabbed just a massive bag of zip ties. These are Commercial Electric, 1,000 pack of 4-inch zip ties, and these are the tiny ones. Now, if you're on a budget and you don't want to go out and pay $40 for a bag of zip ties, you can go and get these at Harbor Freight. I would suggest getting 200 or 300 of them. I think they're usually about $2 a pack, and you get a whole bunch of these. But you do want to get ones that are black. Don't get any other bright colors unless you're going to get a deep forest green, because we want them to just blend in with our cord and disappear. All right, so when we put these together, we're going to wrap 2 zip ties around each section of the foam, and then we're going to interlace them with the foam on this side. So the way that looks is you're going to take a zip tie and you're going to put the tail of one zip tie into the head of the other zip tie and just let it go in just a little bit. So this, when you connect them together, is going to be just enough to fit around this foam. And we're going to start here on one of the ends and go in about 2 inches. And we're going to just put that together, and we're going to zip tie it so it grips on the foam, but it's not crushing it too much. Okay? And we're going to do that same exact thing. So all you're really doing is you're taking zip ties, one on the other, looping it around, just barely clicking it, and then you can shove the tube through them, but I like to do it just over the top of the tube itself. Okay? So that's the basic process that we're doing. We're just doing this. So what I'm going to do is, before I do my next one, I'm going to take the tail of one, I'm going to put it through the tail of the other, right, like that. So I've made an L. Then I'm going to take that, and the tail is going to go right under the head of one of the other zip ties. Okay, so now it's underneath, it's tucked in there. Then I'm going to line up my foam, and I'm going to then line the foam up like that. I'm going to take that tail and connect it into the head of the one that is beside it, and zip tie it shut. So really what we're going to have then is we're going to have 2 zip ties attached to one another like this, going around our foam. Okay, so it's going to make like a figure 8. but we're going to build that second one already on there. So rather than let that one go to waste, I can go ahead and just slip this over. It's much, much easier if you just do that on there. I just don't want to waste any. Now, before we do that, we do have a decision to make on our cord. If I just zip tie them like this, this is going to be just a straight, flat cord. But if you've handled any cords for Christmas lights for any length of time, you'll realize that a lot of times those cords are twisted. And this is where we can add that effect by starting to wrap around one another, and then you get a twist. The more times you go around, the tighter it works. You can also go in and then form a loop and zip tie those together. But I'm going to give it just a little bit of a gentle twist. I'm going to slip my zip ties over the foam, pull that back up till they're even, and then gently snug up my zip ties. And then that's going to give me a piece that looks like that. So I have found that you need 4 sets of zip ties on each 6-foot section. So you're going to just kind of eyeball where they go. Going to stick the tail through the head of another one. Come up there about in the middle. Put those together. Okay, there's my one. Do the same thing with the other. There's my other. I can slide it through and put the zip tie through the head of the other. And I'm making that figure 8 of my zip ties. And then I can gently bring those together so that holds my cord together. Okay, so there is a finished joint there. Need a few more zip ties. Bring a few more of those out. And just repeat that process for the next section. Okay, so through. As you can tell, zip ties and Christmas, when you are an extreme decorator like myself, you use a lot of zip ties. And I would say a good portion, probably 50% of my display is held together with zip ties. Maybe more. Okay, there we go. We've got those together. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to trim off all of those tails. So all of those black tails get to come off. Be careful, they can be fairly sharp. So make sure you watch out for those. Go get the clippers. All I have here is a pair of diagonal cutters. I'm going to come through, I'm going to line up to my zip ties. I'm going to cut across them so it doesn't leave them super sharp. And I'm going to go ahead and cut those off. If you don't have diagonal cutters, you can do it with scissors. Although that is a little bit harder on your scissors. I do recommend using some sort of pliers with cutters on there, something designed to cut wire or something a little bit harder. Well, I probably wouldn't use a zip tie gun on this because it is just foam and it's probably going to end up crushing our foam where we don't want it to. Okay, getting in here, getting all the rest of those tails, at least all the ones that I can see. I think I've got one more tucked in the middle there, but I'm not concerned about that one. If I can't see it, I don't worry about it. Then if I find that I need to tighten any of these up, I can always come in there and grab a little bit more and cut those off. So there we go. There is our finished electrical cord. Now the last thing I'll do, and you'll see that in the next video, is it will get a little bit of Rust-Oleum paint, and this is for wood, metal, and plastic and more. The foam seems to hold up all right to it. I do see where it's been affected just a little bit, but it's not enough for me to really worry about. So this will get its painted coat, and then the next time you see it, these will all be in our yard and we'll be setting those up. Anyway, I hope you're learning something and learned how to make the giant electrical cords that go in between your jumbo Christmas lights. I hope you're learning something. Ag Teacher Christmas out.